You know, I just think back the little bit that I read, you know, when Archbishop Edmund Prendergast asked Mary Monday to start. And, you know, it just seems like, you know, they were just going to do little bingo and tea or whatever in the beginning. And just, it's amazing to think all that the women have done over the last 100 years. So, we're celebrating today with 4 past presidents, and they would like to share some of their memories of the time that they served. So I'd just like to introduce Eileen Park, Clara Hilberts, Jane Young, and Ann McDevitt. I know that you were sharing a little bit about how the meetings were downtown, and they were an all-day affair, so who'd like to jump in and talk about that?
Well, when I first started and came on the board in the 70s, we met down at the Barclay, and I would go in on the train. It was a day out. I had to get a babysitter. It was a fun day, and we had our meetings in the city. Then we moved out to Rosemont, where the home is now.
I had gone outside when Camp Rainbow was in progress and noticed that we have this gorgeous property and the children were really not able to benefit from it. So I thought it would be great if we could create like a wheelchair path that would circumnavigate the home, and that people could, you know, take the children on walks in their wheelchairs and walk through a really pretty garden. So that was my idea. And then we had a little gazebo at the end of it where they could sit in the shade.
And you also had the singing rocks.
Oh yes, you remember that. Well, there were little buttons that had recorded messages as you walked through the garden. Hello, how are you? One of those. And the children really responded to it. It was cute.
Well, I don't think I ever knew that.
No, I didn't know that.
That's a wonder.
Obviously, Eileen took a walk.
Can you think of any, let's just say, a project you're in charge of, you know, whether it was Cup Day or some kind of fundraiser or cocktail party, anything funny that happened, like right before?
Well, the year Russ Cullen ran Cup Day, his secretary came out to my home in Penn Valley, and we addressed all the envelopes. And I can remember this man came up and he looked at the place card and he said, "What dreadful handwriting." I said, "That's my handwriting." And I said, "I wrote all these place cards. I wrote all the invitations. I put the names on all of the chances." And guess what? His check bounced.
This was before calligraphy.
Oh, yes.
When we changed to commercial paper, one of these, I think this was a CD, came due on a Friday. And somebody's husband brought me a $145,000 CD on a Friday. Now, what do you do with that? I put it under the dining room rug and prayed that we didn't have a fire. I couldn't wait for Monday morning to come.
I haven't thought about this in years, but I heard that you could have free television time. And so I called and found out about it. So I had to get a letter authorizing me as president of St. Edmunds to, it was indeed a viable institution, and get signed by the Cardinal. So, and I went to the residence on Cardinal Avenue, and they opened the door, and I said who I was, and he took the paper and he closed the door. And there I am, standing there. So I get my paper back. Then I called down the powers that be, and I said I wanted a recognizable name, and I said Bob Hope. And they said, okay. So they made a contact with him, and he was interested, but then he had various conflicts. So in the end, we ended up with Anthony Quinn. Wow. And he couldn't come to the studio where I was being photographed, so they went to New York, and they photographed him in a hotel, answering a lot of my questions.
Really?
And I wrote my own
I
script.
don't remember that. I didn't at all.
Oh yeah, it was so funny to sit in my den and see myself on television.
Especially in Anthony Quinn's bedroom.
Well, I think one of the things that's really important is the close communication the auxiliary has to whoever is the administrator, that she feeds the needs of the children. and keeps the people in touch with why they're there, you know, because all you have to do is see these little ones in a wheelchair and they can't talk and they all have feeding tubes and all kinds of troubles that they cope with, and they're always giving you a big smile. It's just wonderful.
It's such a happy, everybody's so happy all the time, and the staff, the different activities that they do, you know, that's the one thing. When you get to St. Edmunds, when you first get there, you feel maybe a little sad because the children are so challenged. They're in wheelchairs, they can't eat, but then you spend even an hour and you realize that none of that matters, and the staff just knows how to break through all that.
Oh, we forgot about Jane's great idea for the 100th about getting a donation from all the past presidents.
Oh, right.
No, that was a good idea.
That was really good.
Well, that just popped up in my head, and I thought, we're celebrating the 100th anniversary. Why don't we put a letter out to all our permanent members? So it was very well accepted, and we had a wonderful response. So, and it showed that the permanent members, although they're not attending meetings and things, they're still interested in the home, which I think was very helpful to a lot of the younger members as well.
Oh, definitely.
That we're still interested and still involved.
Jess, well, you inspired me, because there's just so much history, and 100 years, it's a big deal.
It's nice to know St. Edmunds is still in good hands.
Well, I think you ought to continue doing this every few years.
Yeah, that'd be a good way to keep it.
Every 100.